Trapped by the belief that I'm not good enough, bound by the limitations and the lies that consumed my world, this was me. It wasn't until I took the biggest leap in my life to know and trust the power within. And it was at that moment I made a choice. My past will not define me anymore. Hello, I am Teri, and I know I am not alone in this. Over the years, I have found that the number one mistake that we make is that we get in the way of our own success story. Yes, I said it. On this show, together we'll tackle limiting beliefs, self sabotage, getting stuck, fear, doubt, overwhelm, and the imposter syndrome. Join us on this journey designed to transport you beyond your limitations to a world where anything is possible. This is Talking with Teri. Hi, and welcome back to Talking with Teri, where we have powerful conversations to transform your life and your business. And I'm excited to have Kristen Lynch with us today. She is a soul mentor, intuitive business and conscious leadership guide, founder of Goddess Brand Company and Goddess Talk podcast, which I love. So welcome, Kristen, to the show.
Thank you so much, Teri. I am super excited to be here with you today.
Yeah. So, okay, let's just dive in here. I want to hear, kind of where you came from and how you came to be where you're at today. So just share, if you will, just a kind of a, give us like the 30-second version of your life in action.
Yeah. So of course, like anyone, there are so many things that have led me to where I am today. I always like to say we all have a perfect storm of events that bring us to the place that we're in, the role that we hold, the experiences that we're having today. But for me, as I look back on my experience, it was really learning to embrace moments of divine redirection and divine intervention. My journey has been so much more a journey of allowing than it has been a journey of planning and strategizing and having all the steps figured out. I've really had to learn to, I like to say, like surrender in order to align. Surrender what I thought I knew in order to align with what was actually true for me. And so that has happened so many times throughout my experience. And one of the most significant times was during college. I was in school, in business school, on track to, have a corporate career, do the whole thing, get the high profile, high paying job. I had everything figured out. And then I went through a health crisis that really turned my life upside down, really brought me to my knees and made me reconsider everything I was on track to do. And in that experience, I worked with one of my first life coaches who really introduced me to coaching. I was able to resolve so many of my health issues that, doctors for years and years could never figure out. And it really got me curious, like there's something here. There's something really powerful about doing this one-on-one deep work, this energetic work, emotional healing work, mindset work, this creates so much change in people's lives. So it was really that. It was really this period of, surrendering. It was finding the gifts in moments where life brought me to my knees, and I felt like the rug was pulled out from underneath me. Surrendering to, okay, what is the gift here? What is life trying to show me? What am I being invited to step into if I'm willing to let go of this path I'm so attached to? So that was the first thing. And then the other thing I would say was a big part of my story was really just learning to creatively blend all of the sort of 3D worldly skill sets that I have to in a way that would really support my divine mission, my unique truth, my divine gifts in the world. So I was looking at, okay, I have, I've had these experiences. I have this, yoga teaching background. I have all of this spiritual development work I've done. And then I also have the business degree, the business world experience that I've had. So how can I bring all of that together to really, serve in a way? So it was that kind of getting creative about using all those things that has now led me to do this soul mentorship work. I work with women to help them really align with create a life that's in resonance with who they are at a soul level. And then for women that are ready to go even deeper, step into leadership, use their gifts, their purpose, their voice to lead and to contribute to the collective. So I went a little over 30 seconds there. There's so much to say. There's so much to everyone's story, but that's really been, a little taste of the path and how I've gotten here.
Yeah. And I think when you talked about like surrendering, I think that is something that I know that that's something that I continue to work on and allow, because I think that surrendering process is easier said than done, for sure. And I think that's such a vital step in stepping back into more of our spiritual beingness, right? Like, we, I think sometimes we want to shut that off because, we live in this physical world and there's a lot of outside of us, right? And I don't know about you, but I grew up with this kind of, definitely more focus in the physical world than necessarily the spiritual world, right? And so that surrendering really is, I believe, that the journey, that we get to, I don't know, like what I want to say here, it's such powerful work when we start to surrender. And but I want to share with the audience, because I think that it's powerful. Like, what was that process like for you? Because I think sometimes when we think about surrendering, it's like, what does that really even mean, right? Like, so tell us from your perspective, like what was that process like?
Yeah, it's been such a journey for me as well, because in this 3D physical reality, we are attached. We're attached to the logical, we're attached to the linear. But what I started to see was how limiting that actually is. There is
Mhm.
so much beyond that. And the divine doesn't operate that way. The divine is anything but linear. It is multidimensional, it is messy, it is, infinite, and it's really beyond our own comprehension as humans with this, limited, finite mind. So once you understand that when you are able to surrender, you can actually open yourself up to solutions, to possibilities beyond what you've known in the past. That sort of gets us into this curious space where we're like, okay, maybe there's something to this. Maybe I would be willing to let go of what I think I know, and just see and just play in the possibility of what else might be available to me. And I'm always blown away by how much more there is than what I've known and what I've been attached to in the past. So I think it's that practice of kind of getting curious, being willing to explore, being willing to kind of dip one toe in and see what happens. And you can sort of collect like evidence every time that you do this. Okay, I surrendered here and this is what opened up. And then I did it again and I was led in this direction. Oh my gosh, I can see the synchronicity of all of this. I can see how guided I was all along. So I think when you kind of understand and you're just willing to try and to embrace and play in that space, it's like undeniable how much opens up.
Yeah, I love having, when I'm working with clients, I love having them do an experiment, right? Like, just do an experiment, get curious, like you were talking about. I mean, the brain is completely activated when we tap into the emotion of curiosity. And so when we can step into that, just like what you're saying is, and we start to experiment, because I get it, fear comes up, the ego wants to hop in and says, shut this down, because it's like, that's not something you've done before. That's the unknown zone, right? But when we get curious and when we start to experiment, because experimenting to me is very harmless, right? It's like, okay, this is either going to
For
work
sure.
or not work, right? And if it works, there might be some other ways in which it shows up that it, like you said, like it was even better than we had planned or imagined it. But it's powerful when we get into that place of experimentation of like, let's just play with this, because it opens up so many more possibilities. And like you were talking about with the evidence, I had created this evidence journal, for my clients, because I wanted to make sure that we're documenting this process, because so often, that fear will pop in and it will shut down our connection with divine. It will shut down our
Yeah.
connection with, unlimited, life force. And when we have that, when we can document that process and document the evidence that's showing up, that we're being supported on all elements, on all areas, it's profound. And that can be a process that we can help folks carry it forward, if you will. What So share with me, some other things that, in this process for you, being able to surrender, that's made it easy for you to get to the place that you are today.
Yeah, and I want to just say quickly too, as well, to the curiosity piece. one of the things about curiosity that's so powerful about it is it, just like you're saying, it softens the part of the mind that thinks it has it all figured out. It kind of softens that part of the mind that wants to be the critic, that wants to be like, well, show me the evidence. I'll believe it when I see it. So it's super cool to work with that energy. But so one of the things that I really had to kind of anchor in is this belief that everything is here for me. Everything is truly, truly, truly here to serve me. And when we can operate from that space, when we can truly be anchored in that knowing, we can receive everything. We can receive the pain, the pleasure, the discomfort, the fear, the bliss, the freedom, and everything in between, knowing that it is always here for us, that there is always a gift in everything that we experience. And that even in those edgy, uncomfortable, painful moments, they're often happening to shape us into who we need to be to actually have, receive, experience what we're desiring to experience. So it is for us. What we're desiring really is inevitable when we're willing to see it that way. And everything that feels like it's not that it's the opposite of the desire, is actually serving that desire. It's shaping us, it's stretching us to be able to hold that vision, that desire that we have. That was another huge piece for me to kind of click, to get kind of clicked into alignment and just start to embrace this natural cycle of kind of death and rebirth and discomfort and pain. And then also, the opposite of that, the pleasure, the freedom, the success.
Yeah. And I love this. I mean, you're speaking my language. We're like cut from the same fabric, which I love. And I was just talking to someone else the other day, and I said, during this time, we need and require more and more people to step into their powers, to step into their superhuman gifts that we were given in this lifetime. And we need it more than ever before, obviously, kind of just on the backdrop of, what's happening in our world on so many different levels and so many different facets of what's happening. Right. And so what would be your advice for people that are in this place and space that maybe are consumed by fear? Or still maybe consumed by fear, because, the things that have happened, in the last, year and a half, 2 years almost, there's been a lot of fear. And although I would say that most people are waking up, and going back into this, kind of new realm, if you will, I feel like there's been a massive reset that's been happening on a spiritual level, on a physical level. There's this massive reset that's been happening. And, what would you, share, or as far as folks that are, at any point in this process, whether that's like, okay, I'm starting to tap back into, my kind of, divine power. I'm starting to get curious about this. Like, what would you share with people that are in this journey of kind of, coming out of this fear and into this new place of resetting?
I love this question. I'm so glad that you asked this, because this is so relevant to all of us right now, isn't it? It's like top of mind. Can't escape this space of kind of uncertainty. So I saw this quote recently. It was like a graphic that was being shared on Instagram, and it said, "Retire the question and be the solution, or live the solution." So a lot of us are asking right now, is everything going to be okay? What's going to happen? And the quote, "Retire the question and live the solution." Okay, if everything was going to be okay, how would I show up? Who would I be? How would I be responding? What energy would I be existing in? And I think that in this kind of awakening we're experiencing, in this reset, in this expansion that we're all going through, this ascension, what we're really opening up to are dimensions beyond the physical. So I think all of us are in this really powerful time to start looking for evidence, not in the physical, but in the unseen instead. So instead of looking for the physical and saying, oh my gosh, there's chaos, there's, injustice, and there's, this problem and this problem and political, upset and all the things that are going on. What if we instead looked to the unseen? What if we looked to the being? What if we looked beyond the physical and got our evidence of what more is possible from there, so we could then bring that into the physical?
Yeah. And
what are we all desiring? We're desiring, unity, freedom.
Yeah. And I love
unity and freedom.
I love bringing that into not only from an unconscious standpoint, but bringing that into the consciousness, right? And so the best way in which we can transform anything is bringing that, the unseen, which I love what you're saying, from the unseen into the seen, and from the unconscious into this conscious. And
Yes.
that is the power. And I think that is something that we have 1000% control over, right? Like us
Absolutely.
doing the work, right? And it is one of these times in our lifetime, which we may never ever see again in our lifetime, of really, I think we're being asked. I don't know if you would agree with me or not, but I feel like we're being asked that it's the deeper work that we're being going into, right?
Yes.
And going within, and and tapping back into our divine knowing, our divine guidance, our divine beingness, if you will.
Yeah, it's almost like we're not even being asked. It's like we have no other choice at this
Yeah.
point, but to
Yeah.
to start from that space.
Yeah.
And really, like it is kind of testing our resiliency and our embodiment and our consistency. Can we really hold this new embodiment, this new way of being, this new way of operating, even when the whole physical world is telling us that's not possible, that's not available, that's never happened? Can we trust so much? Can we, hold this so consistently, so strongly amidst all of that, that eventually it inevitably does kind of come into the physical space as well? So it's definitely an edgy place. It's stretching all of us, but it's also really exciting because we're stepping into so much more possibility.
Yes, this is beautiful. I love the way that you're saying this, because I think I'm in total in alignment with what you're saying, because I think more and more people, and I don't know if this has been true for you, but I feel like I've had more and more profound conversations, even in the last like 6 months, more profound conversations than I've had ever before, with people being just more open to what is
Yes.
possible, to being open to questioning our limitations and questioning our ability to create beyond. So I think it's just this beautiful time that we're in. And I think the message is loud and clear, is that, giving ourselves permission to
Yes.
know and trust, because I think it's been true for conversations that I've had over the years, and even just with my background in therapy, and all the the work that I've done to this point in working with clients, is that I think if we allow ourselves, and I tying this back into the beginning of our conversation, to surrender enough to allow the messages to be heard, we all know within a shadow, from a shadow of a doubt, that we are meant for more. We are meant,
Yes.
we know it deeply embedded in our bodies and in our beingness. And so I think this is just a time for us to all, tap back into that knowing, like this is here for us. This is truly here for us, to serve us, not only in an individual state, but also as a collective, right? So
Yes.
powerful. So
Yeah.
powerful.
And I'm totally finding that openness as well is just so alive right now in the world. And it's so beautiful. And I think part of why that's here is because we're really starting to see that these old systems, these old belief structures, these old ways of operating are just not working anymore. We're all starting to kind of get frustrated at all these, ways that we're kind of inefficient. We're kind of operating in these limitations. And so we're like, okay, maybe there is something else. And we really get to step into our power as, divine co-creators and say, okay, well, this is what I really desire. This is what feels true to me on a soul level. And I'm going to bring that into my experience, whether that's abundance or love or ease or vitality. We get to claim that now and then really live that so we can, receive that in our world.
Ah, that's beautiful. Okay. So to wrap up here today, what's a tool, a nugget, a technique, something that you can pass on to the listeners that they can implement today, on their journey?
Yeah, I really think I would feel like there's so many things that I could share because this conversation just feels so full circle, and so many things are coming through. But I think one thing that I would say is it's really important right now to just be making space for a time with self, alone time without all of the outside noise, without all of the stimulation. And I know it may sound really simple, but so many of us aren't actually doing this, aren't actually, making space for just true time with self. it's really important that we're really getting to know kind of our own energy, our own nature, that we are just getting to know the self better so that we can really stay true to that in a world that's really trying to pull us in all different directions, whether that's politically, whether that's, what career we should have, what relationship we should be in. It's a time where we need to be really sourcing our own truth so we can stand by that, and be that and claim that.
That is beautiful. And I love that. I love that you said sourcing our own truth. That is beautiful. And the more that we can do that, the more that we raise the collective vibrations of our planet. And that's what's required right now. So
Yeah.
goodness, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. Lots of little nuggets that you've shared with us today. Where can people find you and connect with you?
So probably the best place is my website. That's where you can find all the links to socials and programs, ways to work with me, and that is goddessbrandco.com. And then I do also have a podcast, as Teri mentioned in the beginning. It's called Goddess Talk Podcast. Those are the best places to just kind of start. That'll funnel you to all the other things.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being the light. Thank you for, being a light warrior here on this planet. And I look forward to staying in touch with you.
Thank you so much, Teri. Right back with you. And thanks everyone so much for listening.
I am so grateful that you joined me for this episode. If you've enjoyed this, then there's just one thing that I would like you to do. Click to subscribe and leave me a rating and review. As my way to thank you, let's connect for a free consultation. Just reach out to me at talkingwithteri, that's TERI.com, to book your time.